guys, it's me, and today I'm here with my October wrap-up, which might sound weird to you because the last video of this channel is my September wrap-up, but oh well. Quick disclaimer, I'm not going to talk too long for the intro because I have quite a lot of books to talk about, but I just recently started college. It's just been very hectic and I haven't really been able to figure out when it's best to film and edit and everything, so it's just been hectic, but hopefully for the month of November I'll be more consistent with my uploading of videos, because I already have, besides this video, I have 2 other videos filmed and I have some other ones planned, so hopefully I will get more done actually this month. The rest for the month of October I kind of did a challenge to let my TBR jar pick out what I read, so all of these were pulled out of the TBR jar, except actually more towards the end of the month I stopped doing that. Like for the first couple of books I read this month, that is the case, and let's just go through them. So the first book I read in October is Monstress, Volume 2, The Blood, by Marjorie and Takeda. So this is the second volume in the Monstress series, which is a graphic novel series. I'm not gonna like zoom in too much because it's the second volume. Any page is spoilery. I really like the art style in this. Wait, maybe this not, because it's like not really spoilery, but like this gives you a good sense of the art and I really like it. This graphic novel series takes place in this world where there was like this sort of monster human hybrid things as well as regular humans, and they have just been like, we're towards the end of a war between the two, and we follow a main character who is one of those monster hybrids things, but she's very human passing, which has like this mark on her chest, which puts, when she is enslaved, kind of puts her in kind of this, in the eye of someone and buys her, and blah, blah, and stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens. The series is hard to explain. That was basically the setup of the first volume. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, just like the first volume. The first volume I said that I feel like the series could go in a way that I would really love and really enjoy, and will be 5 stars, depending on where it goes. And so far I really like where the story has continued to go and how the world has expanded to grow and how the characters have developed, and I just think it's a very interesting volume, but I still gave it 4 stars because there were just some moments where it was a little bit confusing what was happening, so yeah, that's why I docked the star. I at first wasn't going to give the disclaimer for that I pulled out books from my TBR jar, because honestly for most of these books I'm going to talk about that wasn't the case, but like, I just needed something to explain the next book I read. That's to Playbook, Suit Up, Squash Hicks, Be Awesome by Barney Stinson with Matt Kuhn. Yeah, basically I'm a huge fan of the show How I Met Your Mother, and if you don't know, a lot of the things that are in the show actually were made real. So like all of the websites that are mentioned in that show are real, as well as some of the books. The Playbook, which is a thing by Barney in the show, has been published, which I'm holding. Also the Bro Code, which is also a thing, also was published. And yeah, I found this in a second-hand store, in a thrift store, a while ago, a couple of months ago, earlier this year I would say. And I just thought it would be fun to have, but I wasn't necessarily going to read it. But then I pulled it out of my TBR jar, because my TBR jar is every book I own and I haven't read yet, so I had to. And at first I was like gonna put it back because like I'm not seriously gonna read it, but then I was just like, it's short. I'm in a reading slump, and for me, whenever I'm in a reading slump, finishing books helps me get out of it. So I was like, it's a short book, the pages aren't that full of things, so maybe I should try reading it, and I did, and I read it in one sitting and I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't rate this book just because I think that if you're a How I Met Your Mother fan, you'll absolutely love this. If you're not, why would you even pick this up? Yeah, I feel like this is just not something I can rate subjectively because of my love for the show. So then I have probably, now that I look at everything, my favorite book I read this month, only 5 star I read this month, I just realized, and that's Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig. I give this 5 out of 5 stars, like I just mentioned. This is a non-fiction book about Matt Haig and his experiences with anxiety, especially anxiety related to social media and media in general, news, a lot of things, basically modern world. And he gives like advice on how to deal with it better, as well as show like research, like actual professionals have shown that what I'm experiencing is just like the general consensus is true, and also incorporating some of his own feelings and situations. And I think this is a very interesting book if you have anxiety, even if you don't. I think this is a very interesting read, and I highly recommend it. It's very easy to read. The chapters are like very short. The writing is like pretty big and like spaced out, so it's a very quick read. And I tapped quite a lot of quotes. And yeah, this definitely is one I'll be rereading in the future as well, just because I had such a great time and it was very interesting. I learned a lot. Then the next book I read is also the last one I pulled out of a TBR that I actually finished this month, and that's Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Hicks. This again is a graphic novel. Let's show you the page. It's a standalone graphic novel following just 24 hours, like not even 24 hours, just like an evening, Halloween evening, following these two people, Deja and Josiah, and they work at this pumpkin patch, and they've worked there throughout the entirety of high school, and now they're in senior year, and it's the last autumn working at this pumpkin patch, the last day to work at this pumpkin patch, and they just, their friendship has just, like, they're really close friends, but like not outside of their work. So it's kind of them being scared of losing each other, and also this guy has had a crush on one of the girls working at the pumpkin patch the entirety that he's worked there, and he's never really talked to her. So it's a little bit about getting him to talk to her, as well as Deja wanted to try every single food on the pumpkin patch because I don't know. And it's a lot of fun. I gave this, I think, 4 out of 5 stars because it just, the ending felt a little bit anticlimactic to me. I also just think this isn't perfect. This is a very fun fall read. Like if you wanted to get, now it's a little bit late, but if you wanted to get in the fall mood, this was perfect, and it's great, and I still highly recommend it because it's fun whenever you read it. And honestly, I want a spin-off sequel to this because at the end they mention maybe going to work at like a Christmas store during winter break together to like replace the pumpkin patch, and I want that so badly. So yeah, I want a Christmas spin-off of this. Can I please have that? Then I got sick and I was stuck at home, and I read my library books that I had at home, so no real blame of TBR, but oh well. The first book I read then was Origin by Jennifer Armentrout, which is the 4th book in the Lux series. This series is about Katie, who moves to West Virginia after her father has died together with her mom, and they move in next door to this boy and girl twins that she gets very well along with the girl, but she doesn't get along with the boy at all, and turns out they're aliens, this girl and boy, and yeah, chaos ensues. And this is the 4th book in the series, the second to last book, and I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. This series has lost its charm for me. The first 2 books were very addictive, and I just flew through them. Quality wise, not the best, but just enjoyment wise, so good, and I could read them forever. But then from book 3, which I think I read last month, I didn't like it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I just wasn't a fan. Then this stepped up on the quality, but still didn't deliver that enjoyment as much as I wanted to. This had a very action-packed, fast-moving plot, and just a lot of things happened. And I really liked the direction that this book took the story in. I'm not complaining about that at all. It was very fun, and I really like the character interaction in this as well, but I don't know, it was missing that addictiveness, I could read this all day thing. And then right after that, I of course had to finish the series, and I read Opposition, which is the final book in the Lux series, also by Jennifer Armentrout. By the way, one of the videos I filmed that has in Editing Wasteland is a full series discussion on the Lux series, so be on the lookout for that, because that might come someday, hopefully. Because otherwise I filmed it for nothing. I filmed it while I was still sick. So this is the final book in the series, and again, just like book 4, it had a very action-packed, fast-paced plot, and I just didn't have that much of an enjoyment to it. Again, I give 2 out of 5 stars, but in this book I kind of realized where I wasn't enjoying things. I didn't like the main characters at all. They were just so annoying. constantly, and they just wouldn't learn from their mistakes or consider the same thing. And honestly, there's still the same characters in book 1 and 2, but just in the setting they're put in now, it just doesn't work. They're just very smart about it. And in the first 3 books, it was fun because it was against each other and it caused like a lot of great banter. But like these books, it's against like the villains of the series and all of these people that you're just like, why you ruining your life? Like, this person could kill you in like 5 seconds. Why are you doing this? It is, it was so annoying. And like, whenever they did it, Erin won, and then it would be like, oh my god, how could I go on? Ooh, I don't know. And I'm just like, it's because you're annoying. That's why. And then move on to the next villain and do it again. And I'm just like, can you stop? Like, can you just not? Like, stop. It's so annoying. And I just, I couldn't deal with it. Also, these last 2 books are told in dual perspective, and that was just not working for me because I just feel like they weren't distinctive enough. Then the last book I read while I was sick is Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski. I still don't know how to pronounce it right. I'm so sorry. This is the first full-length novel in the Witcher series. And basically, this series takes place in this world where there's kind of like these mythical creatures and monsters and humans. And at the beginning of this book, we kind of learn about this war that has happened a couple of years ago, like 10 years ago maybe, I don't know, might be less, which was between like mainly the elves and the humans, and kind of still following repercussions of that. And in this whole event, there's kind of started the legend of Ciri, I think that's how I pronounce her name, who is a princess of one of these towns where a big part of the war happened. And it's kind of this legend that she got taken by this witcher called Rowell, and he's kind of taking care of her. But at the same time, there's also the most believed actual thing is that she died in the war, because her whole family died. And they just think she died with them. But we know the truth because this series mainly followed Rowell, who is a witcher, and witchers basically are kind of like mutated humans you can hire to kill these monsters. That's what witches are. And basically we follow Rowell mostly. And yes, he did happen to take care of Ciri, and it's about them, like Ciri kind of training, as well as Rowell keeping Ciri out of like the limelight, like not people wanting to know about her because it's dangerous and stuff happening. It's hard to explain. But yeah, basically I give it a 3 out of 5 stars because I was disappointed by this. I'm so sorry. I read the 2 short story collections and I loved Rowell, loved the characters, but the format just wasn't working for me. So I was really excited to get to a full-length novel because it's like, okay, this will work for me. In a way it did, but at the same time it didn't, because I just think it's a problem with this book and I'm very excited to continue onwards. But I just feel like this book was very much like a setup, as in like, this is what happened in the war, this is how people are reacting to it, these are the legends surrounding the war, these are the legends surrounding our main characters, and these are characters strategizing about the war, and these are other characters strategizing about the war, and this is how our main characters think about what's going on. And there just wasn't much plot, it was just like a lot of setup and world building, and also a lot of training with Ciri. I mean, honestly, I love all these things, but this was a whole book almost completely comprised of just those things. And we're just like, okay, so what else? It was pretty like boring at points, and and felt dragged out, and just, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't read this in like 24 hours, so it was a pretty quick read. And yeah, I'm excited to see where it's going, because eventually what they set up is very, very interesting. I'm excited to see how that develops, but it was just too much setup for me in this one book. So, alright, so then some other books I finished this month, and the first one of that is All About a Part of Me by Molly Ringle. I received a guide of this when it already came out. I started this a while ago. Started this in September, and I just managed to finish it. I only read it on like my commute from college and back, because it's a 2-hour commute, let me read. And yeah, this book is about a guy who is an actor, kind of, and he is working in England, and he has just received like this kind of like low budget movie deal, and he's really excited about it. But during the shooting of this movie, he kind of has sort of attractions to his director, who is a female, and at the same time very strong physical sexual attractions to his best friend, who is a male and who is in America, where he lives, where like this guy, main character, is from. And he's kind of never really had feelings for guys, so he's kind of just like, am I bisexual? What's going on? So basically it's about him dealing with his bisexuality, like figuring stuff out, as well as figuring stuff out on his crush on his best friend that he's had forever, and also kind of being stuck in between the worlds of like England, America. Where do I go? I didn't like this book. I give this 2 out of 5 stars. I honestly was hoping for like a good book, but it wasn't. I compare this book to a very, very bad Wattpad novel. Like, no trashing on Wattpad because I love Wattpad. My roots are Wattpad for like reading, not really. But like, my between them was lived on Wattpad reading wise. So, I'm not bashing Wattpad at all. But like, we've all read that one bad book on Wattpad. This was it. Like, plot wise, this was it. It was just so ridiculous and stuff came out of nowhere and just didn't make sense. And just like, why are we doing this? You're afraid your book just won't be interesting enough? If you don't do these out of the blue, ridiculous things that make no sense, sure, do that. Have fun, go off, I guess. I didn't like the main character. I just thought he was very bratty and annoying and whiny, and I didn't know, wasn't a big fan. I didn't like the love interest, just like the most unsupportive person ever, especially if you think like the love interest, which is the guy, by the way, he went through not really a difficult coming out situation, but like he held back coming out quite long, and he was the one to force the main character to force the main character to come out. I don't know why I did this. He gave him literally an ultimatum. Well, he knew that a guy was in a situation like his parents were not accepting at all, and it was just very difficult. And I'm just like, you're just such an hypocrite and you're so annoying and I hate you. Thank you very much. And then there's a love triangle in this, which is like the worst love triangle I've ever read. It's just not good. The romance isn't very compelling. I don't know what else to say because there wasn't much to it. It was a very quick read and I did have some fun reading it. That's why it's 2 stars, not 1 star. But definitely skip out on this one. Like, oh, this was bad. Like, just not good. Then the next 2 books I read were graphic novels. Again, I went to the library in Antwerp. I signed up for a library card there instead of here, because I'm just more there than here, so it just made sense. And they had a huge graphic novel section, so I just checked some out. I heard a lot of good things about, and I read them because my brain doesn't work properly after a heavy school day, so graphic novels are more fun. So the first one I read is Shoe Volume 1, Taster's Choice by John Layman and Rob Guillory. I don't know if I pronounced any of this right, but this is about a guy who is a detective who, whenever he eats something, like he can see the whole like history behind it and everything. Besides when he eats beets, I think, I'm not sure. But besides one thing, so he constantly eats this one thing and nothing else. Especially because when he eats meats or something, it's just very gruesome and very dark. And one day, he and his partner come across this serial killer, and right before, like, and he's trying to like get the serial killer to confess to all of his like murders, but like he won't do it, and instead he kills himself. So this other main character starts eating him because then he can see everything, and this gets noticed by like a higher thing, and they hire him to do this like regularly. To just like help solve things by eating things. And also in this world there's this this thing called the bird flu, and people can't eat chicken or like bird meat stuff, you know, and that's basically the whole premise. It's very difficult. But I give this 3 out of 5 stars. I just don't think this was for me, and I can definitely see why people would love this. The main character is kind of interesting, the plot is interesting, and eventually like the ending is pretty good and like takes in a very interesting direction. And honestly, it's one of those things, like, realistically I don't think I'll ever finish this because it just wasn't for me and I didn't really find any enjoyment of it. But because of that ending, I'm curious, you know, but I probably won't continue on. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. It just didn't do anything. I didn't really enjoy it. I just read it to have read it, and yeah. Then the other graphic novel I read, which is also the last thing I read in October, is Sweet Tooth Volume 1, Out of the Deep Woods by Jeff Lemire. This is about a boy who is like a hybrid between an animal and a human, and basically this world has like been struck by disease and all humans have died, and basically the only people who aren't affected by this disease are like these hybrids, which our main character is one of, but he has always been like secluded in like this forest by his dad, and his dad has always been like, oh, there's only evil things out there, like never go out of the woods. And then one day his father dies of this disease, and he's alone to fend for himself, and he comes across this man who actually takes on the forest and claims to want to bring him to a safer place because these hybrids are being hunted by people. And yeah, eventually this premise actually was pretty interesting. I didn't really know what this was about. Like, I heard some people talk about this, but I just never really knew what this was about. But once I actually started reading, I was like, oh my god, this is actually pretty interesting. But then I kept reading and was like, what are we doing? There just wasn't really any like depth to it. Like, the plot didn't really develop. We didn't really learn that much besides like the initial premise. We don't learn that much more about this disease. We don't learn more about hybrids. We don't know why the hybrids are being hunted exactly. We just don't learn much, which is just, it's really annoying, because I feel like if you, in the first volume, you gotta set up things, you know, and this didn't do that. So the opposite of the first Witcher book, which set up too much, this didn't set up enough. The characters didn't really weren't really well developed, and yeah, I don't know, I just wasn't a big fan. I just give it 2 to 5 stars. Those were all the books out in the month of October. If you read any of them, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of them, and also what are some of the books you read in the month of October, and hopefully I will post more often in the month of November, because I really like making videos. I just not great at scheduling. I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.